Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now what I'm going to try and do today is recreate a video, well, two videos that I did some time ago, which was, the first video was the comparison of the Planar 1, the Planar 2 and the Planar 3, and then I did a separate video, because the first one was too long, comparing the 6, the 8 and the 10. I'm going to try and do that sort of as concisely as possible without repetition, deviation or hesitation. So that's going to be a difficult one for me because particularly deviation, going off on tangent. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that. I'm not going to go into massive detail. I'm just going to sort of basically just go through the turntables one at a time and point out the differences between each model, really. If you want to sort of have a more detailed sort of view of these, if you go back to the previous videos, which I'll put links below, just so you can re-watch those if you want to. But this is just going to go a quick run through the entire range, really, and just talk about how they change as you go through the models. Okay, so let's get it all set up and let's give it a go. Okay, so Rega Planar 1. Now the theory here is I'm going to try and do this video in under 10 minutes, but let's see how it goes. So yeah, Planar 1, as you can see. Comes in white or black, does come with a lid. It's probably the most common question I get in the shop is whether it comes with it, because I don't tend to put the lids on them. And you don't tend to see them in sort of magazines with the lids on, because they're difficult to photograph, and in the shop it's a lot extra dusting, and I don't want to scratch the lids up particularly. I'd kind of describe it as a sort of suicide lid, because there's no springy on the hinge, so if you let go of it, it does just drop. So you need to be aware of that. It also means if you're placing it anywhere, it needs to be able to have the lid right up to the top, like that, for it to balance. So you need that amount of height above if you're going to mount it under something. Planar 1 comes with phenolic resin platter, which is acoustically very good actually, but quite lightweight. I mean, the drawback is it's very light, but it's very dead acoustically, so it does work well for a turntable. It's got the RB110. Is it 110 tone arm? These things I should remember. Yeah, RB110 tone arm. Very basic tone arm, very basic bearings, but functionally very good. It does work really well. To change speed, lift the platter off. A little pulley there, 45 and 33. That's it. Some people are very sort of put off by that, but it's actually pretty quick when you get used to it. It's not something that's really an issue. On off is underneath. So switching on will spin up the platter, and then you just move the tone arm across. Use a little finger lift there, which will then lower the arm. Once you've played, lift the finger lift again, move the arm back. Really straightforward. So that's, yeah, Planar 1. Planar 1 Plus, now I'll just stick with the same turntable because basically the Planar 1 Plus is a Planar 1. The only difference is it does have instead of just being an ordinary sort of phono out of a record player, which is a much lower level than, say, a CD player or a tune or whatever, it has an inbuilt phono stage. Plus doesn't mean it's a better turntable. There's quite a lot of misconceptions about this, that the Plus is an improved version of the Planar 1. It isn't. It just has the inbuilt phono stage. Possibly there's a bonus that it does have sockets on the back so you can use different interconnects. I don't actually see that as a benefit. I think the fixed cables that you get on the straightforward Planar 1, because they come pretty much straight out of the tone arm. A lot less connections there, and okay, it's not high-end cable coming out the back of there, but the amount of losses by having cable to socket, connection from socket to plug, connection from cable to plug. So you're cutting out all that just by having it wired straight in. So it's more beneficial to have it that way around. And I tend to say you're better to buy a Planar 1 and a separate phono stage, because sonically it's going to be better, really. I don't tend to sell the Plus, hence not having one to show. Right, okay, let's move on to Planar 2. Okay, so Planar 2. Now, I forgot to mention on the Planar 1, it comes with the Rega carbon cartridge as standard, as does the Planar 2. Much criticised on the internet, but it's a great cartridge actually. I mean, it comes with the deck free, so what's not to like, really? I do actually offer with the Planar 2, if you sort of want to if you want to buy a Planar 2 with a different cartridge, I'll just knock the price of the carbon off and pre-fit the whatever you want on it, or Technica or whatever, on for you. Even mail order can do that. If you just give me a copy, you probably have to do it over the phone to order that, but just let me know. Planar 2, yeah, it comes black, gloss black, not a matte black, and gloss white and gloss red, which is really nice, which you'll see in a minute because I'm going to do the Planar 3. Our Planar 3 is in gloss red. RB220 tone arm, which is substantially better than the 110. And also we're now onto a glass platter, which is sort of Rega's trademark. Mainly because of the sort of high mass of the thing. It's a really good flywheel. Same, you can see it through the glass, same scenario, belt change. We've got more sort of calibration on the tone arm. This weight, it's slightly different to the other models in the range, but you can calibrate it because each turn equates to 1 gram, so you can zero it and then put the weight on very easily. And also under here, which you can't quite see with the tone arm, there's a little slider control for the bias, which some people call anti-skate, and I wish they wouldn't. But anyway, yeah, the bias control is under here, so we've got full calibration of the tone arm. So yeah, that's the Planar 2. Let's have a look at the 3. Right, so Planar 3. Now, as I said, gloss red. They also do gloss white, gloss black. Black's obviously the biggest seller, but they do a surprising amount of the reds actually. It's quite a classic red, so it's not vivid. Does look really nice in. So with a pair of red knee Toyotas or something like that, it looks really good. Now moved on to RB330. I mean, this is kind of the arm that made the Rega great in some ways. The original 300, this was sort of is a modern version of, was really groundbreaking, and this is just like a 330's refinement of that original tone arm. We've got a sort of proper calibration there for tracking weight. There's also I should have showed you before on the 2, a little slider there for bias, stroke, anti-skate. Kind of infinitely adjustable there, really, between 0 and about 2.5 grams. A lot of turntables only give you sort of big jumps, say 1 gram and 1.5 grams, so it's quite adaptable in that respect. Not that you particularly need the big jumps, but it is there for people who feel as though they need that. Thicker platter on the P3. This is, I can't remember the numbers now. I think it might be 16mm for a 3 and 12mm for a 2, something like that. Probably correct me in comments if I'm wrong there, but much heavier platter again. So a much better flywheel. Some people wonder why it still uses the phenolic resin subplatter. The main reason for that is that it's still a fairly medium mass plinth on a P3, and because this will gather energy, and because then you've got the heavy platter on top, you need something to sort of buffer that energy transmission. And I know people get quite into the idea of steel sub-chassis, sub-platters here, but they kind of give and take a little bit, really. It's not all good with that, because you do need that sort of buffer between the two things. You can see we're still on the same 2-speed pulley there, which I'll talk about in a second because there is an option. And we've got the brace, which is top and bottom, which sort of gives it a lot more structural rigidity there. Yes, as far as options go with the 3, there are things you can do here now. It comes with the exact cartridge as a package, or you can order it without a cartridge. It might be by the time, in a few months' time, that we'll go back to it being available as a package with the Elise cartridge, because the Elise has been discontinued temporarily while they're having a few problems with production, but that's should be back any time really. But it's probably a better value package with an Elise on it really, because it's starting to get quite expensive with the Exact. Really good with an Exact, but it's starting to get a little bit expensive perhaps. Yeah, upgrade options wise, the obvious one is you can use, let's put TTPSU, so that gives you 3345. So that plugs straight in, improves the sound quality quite a bit. I've done a video on that if you want to look it up. But also the sort of ease of use of the electronic speed change. Obviously it comes with a lot. I've stopped bringing the lids up now, but the same lid as the P1, P2. Now we're on to P6. So obvious thing here, standard with the TTPSU Neo 6, which is only optional on the 3. So there's no dual stage pulley on this. It's all controlled by the little PSU. Only available in grey. Actually, we've got a gloss black along the front edges and side edges, and then like a very soft. It actually looks a lot nicer in the flesh than it does in pictures, to be honest. Just a classier looking deck, really, the 6. Interestingly, the same tone arm's got an RB330 on it. A heavier gauge platter again. This is a two-piece glass platter, so it's actually, get me hand blooming heavy. You can actually see it's two pieces of glass bonded together. We've moved on to the aluminium or alloy sub-platter. You can see single stage pulley on there. The reason that we've now moved to this is that this is an ultra lightweight plinth. It's really, really light. I mean, ridiculously light. So there's nothing like the storage of energy that 3 has, and that's where all the cost is on a 6. And I do get people saying to me, but surely if I buy a 3, buy the 2 TPSU for it, and put a better cartridge on it, it's going to be easily as good as a 6, isn't it? It isn't, because it's all about the plinth. The plinth makes a massive difference on the 6. Almost shockingly better, really. I've done a few demonstrations of 6s, and the reactions are quite interesting, actually, because people are quite, taken aback by how good they are. I also forgot to mention on the 3, the RB330 tone arm also has a heavier gauge cable on it, which I think is Klotz cable, like a microphone cable, possibly. Doesn't say it is, but I think it is. I think it's based on a Klotz microphone cable. So yeah, that's another improvement. But yeah, it's same lid again. I think with the P6 is like a slightly tinted lid, not the clear lid of the lesser models. So yeah, that's it. Oh, the cartridge options. Slow down, stop rushing. Cartridge options without cartridge, with an exact, which suits it really well actually. Or you could also opt to have an Anya within a package price, which again suits it really well. I wouldn't really put an Anya onto a P3, but the 6 really sings with it. It sounds really good. So yeah, let's look at P8. Okay, so we're on to Planar 8. You'll notice we've got the Neo 6, comes standard with Neo 6, but the Neo 6 for the 8 is tuned to it, so it's actually matched to the motor. So the motor will run as quietly as possible. They tweak it up at the factory so that it's perfect. Similar looking tone arm, but it's not an RB330. This is the 880, which is almost like the ultimate 330, really. Same controls, same, everything looks familiar on it, same everything really, except internally bearings and everything else are way better on it. And it is substantially better sort of definition wise and everything like that. The obvious thing with the 8 is that there's hardly anything there. It's if you lift the platter off, it's the same tan cast material they use on the 6, but just cut away to the absolute bare minimum. We've still got the strengthening bar down the middle to give that sort of central rigidity, but even the holes in the middle are cut away. There's hardly anything of it, and the weight of it is barely there at all. It's crazily light, so very, very little pickup of vibration. We've got the metal hub and also a twin pulley there. Now the twin pulley in this situation isn't for double speed. They're both 33, or at least they're both whatever it's set to really, but the idea of having 2 belts is that it'll equalise out. If there's any inconsistency in the belt, it sort of averages out between them. So you get much more consistent speed running. It also gives it a bit more torque on startup as well, which, because as you'll notice, the platter is now triple there. So, and this is a really heavy platter. After having difficulty holding it like this. So that's a magnificent flywheel. So really heavy platter, really light deck, which is always the way to go with things like this. So yeah, I think that's everything on the 8. Oh, the cartridge-wise, you can order it without. You can order it with, as this has got as an Anya Pro. I've just forgotten now whether you can actually order it with an Afita. I think you can. Yeah, I think you can order it with an Afita 3 as well, which works really, really well. Generally, I'll probably say Anya Pro is probably a better balance in some respect. The Afita is better, but whether or not if you've got to spend that chunk of money, then you need to look at our next turntable, which is coming up any second now. Which, of course, is the Planar 10. A few differences here. First, you'll notice massive power supply. Much better power supply, big transformers, and it's lots of stuff going on. It's a very, very pure supply for the motor, so the motor is absolutely spot on. Loads of torque, really quiet. All the things talked about in the Neo 6 review I did a while ago about the importance of that. It's difficult to get your head around it really, but the power supply for the motor is really important. Got speed control, so 3345 on off as well. It's in the same box as the Aria phono stage, so if you've got, you know, the combination there looks quite good. First thing that's about the P10, which is fairly, well, there are a few things which are fairly obvious straight away, is the white platter. Now this isn't glass, this is ceramic. I think with the glass, it's got to the point with the glass where they just can't add any more layers to it. So ceramic is a very, very dead material. This is, I mean, it's tremendously heavy, and it is a thing of beauty. I don't know if it'll show up on the camera, but the underneath is sort of sculpted out. It's so well machined. It feels really smooth. Very tactile thing actually, but it's absolutely beautifully engineered. Again, same sort of hull. There's a better bearing on the 10. It doesn't have the ball bearing. It has a sort of similar to a Sondek bearing actually in a lot of respects. The design of it, twin belts. You notice the decks I've got are all newer and older type belts actually. The white belts that were on the 6, was it? I can't remember now. Aren't available anymore. We're all on the black belts now, and these are the reference belts on this. And we've got a ceramic brace as well. We've gone from the sort of alloy or whatever it is brace on the lower decks to a ceramic brace, much more rigid, lightweight, whatever. The tone arm is an absolute work of art on it's the RB3000. Again, amazing bearings on it. Everything is machined out. All the calibration on there. There's a sort of plunger type adjustment for the bias there, which sort of there's a magnet on the end. You're just basically moving the magnet back and forward. What else do we need to know about the 10? People say to me, is it worth it between the 8 and the 10? I mean, the difference between those two is tremendous. The 10 is so much better than the 8. However good the 8 is, and it is a really good turntable, the 10 is astonishing. When you get to this level, I mean, it's available again without a cartridge, or you can have it with a Feta 3, which is sort of the best-selling combination. You can have it with the Athlon cartridge, which funnily enough doesn't sell that often, to be honest. The Athlon, it's not particularly popular. I've done them with this has got Kaseki Purple Heart with, you know, various things really. Any of the high-end cartridges work really well on it. So yeah, that's the Planar 10. Let's just see if we can put this plotter on with one hand without dropping anything. Yeah, just about. And the white matte, just because it sort of visually matches the deck, I suppose, really. So yeah, that's the Planar 10. What comes after this? Good question. They do the turntable called the Naiad, which is a £30,000 sort of very, very low production level sort of statement, really. But will there be anything in between? You need to watch this space, actually. You need to watch this space. Okay, and at that point I'll end it before I say something I shouldn't. Right, well, hope you like that. Did I get any under 10 minutes? We'll see. I mean, what you didn't see was all the running up and down the stairs, sort of in between. So it took most of an afternoon to film all this. Yeah, if you like what you've seen today, hopefully it's helpful. Always give me a call. If you've got any more questions, just give me a call at the shop, really. The numbers will be at the end, and also the email address. Leaving comments. I'm not really getting through the comments. I keep saying this, I'm not really getting through the comments now because I get so many, it's very difficult to sort of run through them all and try and answer any. So if you can send me an email, that's always the best way. And like I say, always open if you want to phone me up and have a chat. No problem there at all. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. And I'll see you in a future video. Thank you very much.